Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 202 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book, From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing, is available now on Amazon. So go and pick up that book. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, the students at Hofstra University on Long Island, New York, really taught me that given the right resources, any fraternity or sorority chapter in the country could make a turnaround and be the best organization on their campus. I remember starting to work with one particular chapter there back in 2009. They owed their headquarters roughly $13,000. They only had a handful of freshman members that were left in their organization after a bunch of seniors graduated. They all spent the money on parties and who knows what. And everybody completely gave up on this student organization. But instead of folding up shop, these guys bagged groceries at the local grocery store in East Meadow, New York for an entire semester. They collected tips in a tip jar and they paid back the entire $13,000. They won the Most Improved Chapter Award after winning Greek Week at Hofstra 3 years in a row and grew in size considerably. That's when I knew that we just needed to figure out a way to get the right information to the students and they would make all the necessary improvements on their own. The rest is history, as they say. So today I have a fantastic guest for everybody here. Her name is Maryann Ridini Spencer, who writes themes of Aloha, penning award-winning novels and writing and producing critically acclaimed projects for both film and television. She began her career as a producer and writer for the cable news network. Later, she was appointed Director of Publicity for Miss Universe and also served as Senior Vice President of Stephen J. Cannell Productions, the Cannell Studios, before founding Ridini Entertainment Corporation, which is an award-winning PR, marketing, multimedia, content creation, and TV and film production company. As company president, she is committed to creating, writing, producing, and promoting content that entertains, inspires, educates, and uplifts. She has executive produced and produced numerous movies and series for television and the foreign theatrical market. Her products have appeared on Showtime, SyFy, TMC, USA Networks, CBS, and Time Warner Cable. She is celebrated for co-producing and writing the teleplay for the award-winning Hallmark Hall of Fame movie, The Lost Valentine. Based on the James Michael Pratt novel, the movie stars Betty White and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Over 15 million viewers tuned in to watch the film, which won CBS-TV The Night in ratings and won the Movieguide Faith and Freedom Award. Maryann is also the creator, writer, producer, and host of the Telly Award-Winning healthy living cooking series, cookbooks, and blog Simply Delicious Living with Maryann, and author of Lady in the Window, The Paradise Table, Secrets of Grace Manor, and the cookbook Simply Delicious Living with Maryann Entrees. Welcome to the show, Maryann.
Hi, great to be here.
It's wonderful to be on the show with you today. I have so much to ask you. I think our college students, they're going to have so much great information after this episode. So I can't wait to jump in. This is going to be great. Now, earlier I was talking about Hofstra University because that's where you decided to go for your undergraduate experience. And interestingly enough, I lived blocks away from there in East Meadow for about 10 years. So I'm wondering what made Hofstra the right place for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, there's a story to that. My father was a professor at Brooklyn College, and I wanted to do theater. I started in theater when I was a kid. And I did equity and non-equity theater on the East Coast. And my dad said to me, you know, you're the oldest of 6, you're going to have to help pay for college. So you have a choice. You can do summer theater and not get paid, or you can work and then go to Brooklyn College. Well, I went to Brooklyn College for 2 years because I did summer theater in the summer. And then I said, you know, I really have to change. I wanted to find out more about TV production. And I found out that Hofstra had a great department, and my dad found out. And I applied and I got 2 scholarships, which was great. I was a grant and aid in the TV department, which I ran. I was co-program director of the HGTV at Hofstra, and I was a teaching assistant. So we had a black and white and color studio, and I helped teach. And then I was an RA in the dorm, and it was perfect. I loved it. I had a great experience going to Hofstra. We actually had, in our color studio, we had the CBS switcher, and we had a huge studio where we could do 3 sets. And I was able to set up 3 cameras, and then we would switch it. So we did it like, you know how they do the soap operas? Mm-hmm. We did our own productions. It was fantastic. We did The Rainmaker, Antigone. I was a director. It was like awesome. Wow. It was a fantastic experience.
What a great experience. And certainly that set you up for a lifetime. I mean,
it did. As a matter of fact, I took a class with the Young and Restless director, and he looked at me and he said, okay, you're going to be my assistant director. Do the shot sheets. And I did the shot sheets for all 3 cameras so fast. He said, wait a minute, who helped you with that? And I said, nobody. And he said, how did you know how to do that? I said, because I learned in college.
Wow, that's amazing. Awesome. Good for you. That's amazing. And so now all of a sudden you're an award-winning screenwriter, an author, producer, television and print life style journalist. You have your own TV film production company called Ridini Entertainment Corporation. And you, like I mentioned before, you co-produced and wrote the award-winning Hallmark Hall of Fame movie, The Lost Valentine, with Betty White and Jennifer Love Hewitt, which now is a Hallmark classic. Yeah. So you were involved with this college TV station, like you mentioned, back at your days at Hofstra. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, where did this love of TV and film production come from?
You know, ever since I was a kid, 9 years old, I was playing with my friends in the driveway. I remember it like it was yesterday. And they're like, we're going to have, get married and have so many kids by this age. And I'm going to do that later. I said, I'm moving to Hollywood to make movies. I think I always loved movies. And my mom understood that I loved theater and movies and art. And so she kind of directed me to do summer theater at the high school. And then that led into doing more theater and then doing equity and non-equity. I auditioned for that and did it professionally, where I was an acting apprentice, they called. We learned all about production. I learned about costuming, and then I was also an acting apprentice. But after I did a number of plays and was doing that for a while, I realized I really liked props. I loved working behind the scenes. I liked figuring out how things worked. And I thought I really need to have an education with film and TV, because I was more than just a performer. I actually got bored performing for too many nights in a row with the same lines. So I really just had a fascination with it. And I always loved movies. I mean, growing up, I could sit in the movie theater like for 3 or 4 movies at a time. I mean, I loved seeing everything, and I loved foreign films. I loved all kinds of films. So it was just, I knew that I wanted something more, and I didn't realize it at the time. Although I always thought I would write books. It was such a journey for me after school, getting that first job, which I did in New York. It was in advertising, but shortly thereafter, I did move out to LA. But because of my college experience with TV production and going through doing news production and all kinds of production, I was able to get a job at CNN. And I was working there with other college grads, and but I knew how to edit. I knew how to run a camera, even though they had people doing that. You have to have an understanding of that if you're a producer. And so we were out in the field when I worked at CNN, 9 in the morning, and we would choose all the things we wanted to cover. And then later in the day, we would write the copy for the evening show, because we did a live broadcast Monday through Friday from 10 to 11. And then we'd have notes after. So we were working from 9 to 11 or 11:30, and then of course we had to go out and eat after that. So good thing I was in my 20s, because we worked nonstop for like several years. And then after that I said, okay, I need to move on from this. I have enough experience. I made great contacts, and I went into publicity. A friend of mine introduced me because she said, you already know how to do all this. You know how to write and produce. You make a good publicist. And I had been doing some lifestyle writing. So it just, one thing kind of led into the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, good on your mom to realize that at age 9, that you really wanted to head in that direction, and to really kind of, push you in that way. And now you're the producer, writer, and host of Simply Delicious Living with Maryann. That's on PBS-TV, DirecTV, Dish TV, and Roku. You always believe that while it might be tempting to go out to eat, which I'm always tempted to do, you think it's actually healthier and less expensive to cook food at home. So I'm wondering, is that really possible for college students who are always on the go and have really small budgets?
Yes. As a matter of fact, most places, and you can Google this in your town, wherever you are, they'll have farmers markets. And farmers markets are a great way to go to get fresh produce that's in season, and it's healthy, and it really tastes a lot better. But most grocery stores, if you are near any kind of farm or farming, they have those places in your local grocery store too. But now there's so much, a number of years ago, organic was hard to find or very expensive. It's not now. You can shop anywhere. They have all kinds of stores all over the place, discount stores, and they always have an organic section, but mainly eat color. I tell people, eat color. When you're eating a colorful plate, it's healthy for you. And, there are ways to cook, like steaming or roasting. You could even freeze vegetables and put them in smoothies, which I do all the time, because, sometimes if you buy too much spinach or kale, it doesn't go well in your refrigerator. But also when you put it in a smoothie or a sauce, people may say, "Ooh, kale, spinach." You don't even taste it. You get all the nutrients, but if you mix it with fruit and things like that, it tastes delicious. You would, it's really amazing what you can do. And also using herbs and spices, and college kids can absolutely do that. And I think what I teach people is how to make a healthy plate in mostly under 30 minutes or less.
Wow.
And you don't have to be baking, and it's not complicated. You don't have to use a lot of ingredients. And sure, you can use a lot of ingredients and make things a big production, but you don't have to. And that's why I did my blog, because I have a lot of recipes that you can print out, and people can search it by food. It's vegetables or chicken or meat. It's all different, but I really do believe that it's so easy to do that, and you can. It just takes a little bit of planning.
So let's assume that I'm a college student. I need something really simple, easy to get more tasty nutrients into my diet. I mean, you mentioned the smoothie, which I think is great. I mean, is there any other easy ways, easy recipes that I can get all of these nutrients into my diet?
Well, with a smoothie, it's perfect. You just pick your protein powder, because you should use protein powder. And then I use almond milk or coconut milk, and you just put the scoops of the protein powder, and you add in your tons of kale and spinach or carrots, whatever vegetables you want, and then some blueberries or frozen banana, a little bit of cinnamon, mix it up. It's delicious. It's like eating ice cream. It's unbelievable. Also, I would say roast vegetables. You can buy, if you don't even want to chop vegetables, at Trader Joe's, at a grocery store, they sell them pre-cut. Stick it all in a big bowl, put a little bit of olive oil, garlic salt, maybe some Italian spices, and then roast it in the oven for like at 350 or 400 for about 20 minutes. You're going to get lots of toasty vegetables that you could eat, and you could also put in a bowl in the fridge and put it in a salad, have it for a few days as a meal. I just do that at the beginning of the week. I'll even get chop up some sweet potato and stick that in there and roast them all. I mean, how simple can you get?
Yeah.
With salads, you can have a nice big green salad. Put some, get some canned organic kidney beans, garbanzo beans, black beans, chop up some Roma tomato, just stick all the vegetables in a salad. You can have raw.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy. And then if you're a meat and fish eater, just grill some meat or fish and stick it on top.
Wow, that's something even I can do. So I think that's very simple, very straightforward.
Really?
Anybody can do this, right?
And herbs and spices, figure out, because I love chipotle, the seasoning. You can put Italian herbs. They have the mix, fresh basil, even fresh basil chopped up in a salad. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Very nice indeed. Now, I think you're the person to ask this question because, you know, you're on television, you're on these blogs. It helps you get all the information out to the masses, which is great. But I still think that a lot of the college students are really addicted to this technology with their cell phones and their smartphones. So how do we escape what you call the TMT, too much technology zone?
Well, I'll tell you, technology is incredible when you're doing research. If you want to watch one of my cooking videos, you know, things like that. However, harmonious relationships are created with connection, and we need to have that. Research has been showing, and it's been in the news lately, even with Instagram. Too much technology is making people depressed. Why? Maybe they're making comparisons. The relationships aren't as deep. They're, you know, as more shallow. You may have a million friends on Facebook, but how many are really your friends when you're in a jam or you need to talk to them about something? So I tell people, nurture your relationships with your true family and friends. Set a date to meet with them. Go to dinner. Have them over. Sit out on the patio without your phone. Turn the phone off for a little while. If you're going on vacation, put a vacation message. You can reach me during these hours. Set just time aside where you can meet with people one-on-one or talk to someone on the phone or on Zoom one-on-one without all the technology interruptions. Really important, because how many times have you gone out and you see people sitting at a table and everyone's on their phone?
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Couples, families. I once went out and I saw a family of 5. They're all on their phones. No one's talking. You know, part of the great thing, growing up in a big family, we would sit around the dinner table every night. We knew that was our gathering time. Mm-hmm. And we would all share the stories of what happened during the day. It's really important. Take a walk in nature with a friend, you know, minus the electronics. So I just say limit it, you know what you need it for, use it for its wonderful intended purpose, and then put it aside. And don't be checking out what everyone's doing or everyone's saying. Who cares what everyone's eating every moment of the day? Or what everyone, every thought that goes into their head. We don't need to know everything.
I think you're right about that, Maryann. That's a great tip. Absolutely. I mean, you've clearly discovered your own superpowers. I think it's obvious to everybody who's listening or watching right now. So how can our college student listeners discover their superpowers and then live their authentic life right now?
I think it starts with, you have to be quiet yourself, whatever that takes. A walk in nature, you're sitting alone, minus the electronics. What is it you love to do? What is it you feel your purpose is? You might have to ask yourself some questions. I always say, start off journaling. There's a wonderful book, The Artist's Way, and there's also some other books that talk about starting your day writing everything that comes to mind, stream of consciousness. And I think that will kind of direct people, once they clear all the chatter, what is it you want? What is it you're focused on? And try to, I had an affinity for art. My mom saw that, but I also saw it and was bored during the summers. So that's what I did. Some people might want to work with kids, teaching. Other people might love sports, so what is it you can do that you feel that is a gift that you can also make a living at? Sometimes we have to do 2 things. I do public relations and marketing as a fund for all my production. And I think that's important too, to find out what it is and figure out, set goals for yourself, not, take it little steps at a time. Find a mentor, when you do. Ask people, you might want to explore different possibilities before you commit to something if you're in college, and be an intern. That's the greatest way to intern different things, because you may find that what you think you want, you really don't. But also, I say, be open to the possibilities, because you may want, like I did, I wanted to be a writer producer. I wanted to write books. I had to take different paths to get there. I didn't think I was going to be in publicity, but publicity has helped me with all those things. And a job opened up that was a good paying one, so I took it. But I never forgot, my goals. Sometimes life puts you in situations where you have to be open and flexible. You learn from that. But I think that if you can kind of keep a thread going with what it is you love, and even if you have to do something else while you're doing it, like most artists do, then, the joy is living each day and creating, if you're an artist. But also, it's just really knowing that you're contributing what you're meant to contribute, and you'll know because you'll feel good. Charlie Chaplin had a quote about living authentically, that until he had all this angst, but it wasn't until he started doing what he wanted to do that he found peace. And he knew that was living authentically because he was happy. There was some joy in that. It wasn't like, And I think we need to find that for ourselves.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes time to find that. I mean,
It
I went to school for accounting, and then I got into the accounting business, went as high as, CFO, and then realized, debits and credits are kind of boring for me. And I have this creative outlet that I don't know what to do with all of that energy. And so it took a while to figure that out. So you just have to be patient, I think, and try a lot of different things until you eventually figure out what that is. And sometimes it can take time. So you got to be patient.
You do. It may take a number of years, but also everything you can learn from all your experiences. And sometimes, like with me, it didn't all make sense until later.
Right.
Because I did the production, and then I knew I wanted to do more, but I didn't really know how. And then I did the PR because it was essential that I do that for my job. But then it opened the world up. And then when the technologies and Facebook started blending and everything, I realized, oh, that's how I can use that knowledge. I'm glad I have that knowledge. So sometimes it may not be so crystal clear. It may take a while.
Yeah, 100% there. Now, the holiday season can be a very difficult season for many people for various reasons. And sometimes our listeners, they might go through maybe a tough breakup from a relationship that they're in. Maybe they lose their job. Maybe they lose a loved one. I mean, we're also dealing with the pandemic. So how can they cope and see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I always say, reach out and talk to somebody. If you have to get counseling, that's really important. Because a professional can guide you. But if you have a trusted friend, a confidant, who that you can speak to, that's also important as well. I would say align yourself with friends who are supportive of you. They're not going to give you all the negativity. And you'll know that because you'll feel better when you're with them. Create a haven for yourself. You might have to do some house cleaning, in your room, in your special place. Make that so it's like an aha moment when you walk in. You might have pictures of nature. You might want to have certain colors in your room. But I would say create that haven, whatever that is. It might be a little reading section. I think do things that absolutely take walks in nature, whatever that is, or look at nature, because nature, research has shown that when you do that, it increases your well-being. So I think just moving, but that's why I believe in Simply Delicious Living. Eating right and moving make you feel better, gives you more stamina. It's going to help your mental attitude. So that's really important too. Listen to music, find some kind of release, laugh. Watch funny movies. Don't watch depressing dramas. Stay away from too much news. I hate to say that, but we got to. You can watch it. You can look at it once a day, and then put it away, and give gratitude for what you do have, the pleasing things in your life. And when you do that, research has also shown giving gratitude, appreciating what you have, will increase your happiness level.
Wow, I really like that. That's super advice. You live Aloha, which I just love. I mean, how can our listeners learn to live in the spirit like you do with these daily principles that have been practiced by the Hawaiians for centuries?
Well, the thing is, I was going to write my first novel, Lady in the Window, and place it in a different location. I took a vacation in Kauai, in Honolulu. I just fell in love. And I thought it has to be here because the nature is so stunningly gorgeous. I found myself relaxing, rejuvenating. I was able to hear myself think because it's quiet and peaceful. Taking walks in nature, which I say all the time, is so important. But I really feel that it put me in touch with my creativity. And I think that is so key, but it put me in touch with healing. And that's really important. And I wanted to place it there because of all those reasons. And I don't know if there's something else you want to ask me about that, but it was just mind-blowing being there.
Yeah, I've had similar types of experiences there where whether it be, traveling throughout the world. I mean, for me, I guess it could be different for everybody, right? I mean, for me, it was when I was traveling in Israel and I was in Jerusalem, and I just got this, sense of awe, I guess, and just walking around in that city, thinking about all the history that has been there and trying to connect with who I am as a person in terms of my family, our history, and kind of lining everything up and what I should be doing with this lifetime, right?
Well, exactly. And that is exactly why, because living that way, like you experienced that, I experienced that there, and then I delved deeper. Yeah. What is aloha? It came across that it's actually in the statutes, in the law there. And it's how to treat people, the golden rule. I think every ethnic group, every religion, they all believe in the golden rule in some way. Sure. And because we're all part of the human family. And the Hawaiians believe when you live a certain way with respect, honor, understanding, compassion for people, your human ohana, which is family, then it uplifts the mana, which is the spirit of everyone. And so I know that I have friends, a friend of mine just moved to Israel, and that's where her place, she knew that she had to be there. Yeah. And so I understand that completely. And with the way aloha is, the meaning of aloha, I think that everyone can relate to that meaning and that understanding. And I just said to myself, this is what I have to be doing, spreading aloha. You don't have to live in Hawaii and be Hawaiian to live aloha.
Right. You can be anywhere. And so I'm so happy that you found it and that you're sharing it with us. And I think everybody's got that spiritual place. But then the question becomes, all right, once you find it, now what are you going to do with that, right? Are you going to share it with others, right? Yes. And I think clearly you're doing that, which is fantastic.
Well, I think when you do, like you said, and I think when you find your purpose, then it's just overflowing out of you. You have to share it.
Totally agree with that. And we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I mean, I know you love good food too. Mostly you're preparing a lot of it. But when you have to go out to eat, is there a favorite restaurant of yours in that Thousand Oaks, California area maybe that has the healthy food that you're looking for?
There's a chain of restaurants, natural cafes, that are all over Ventura County and in LA. I think they're even in Santa Barbara. I love that restaurant just as my go-to place. There are so many restaurants though that you can, no matter where you go, if you have fresh vegetables, salads, grilled fish and meat, just look at what's on, most restaurants will tell you how they prepare it, and just eat that way. I mean, California, for example, is so easy because that's California cuisine,
Right.
Lots of fresh vegetables, grilled fish and meat. But you can find that almost in any restaurant now. And most restaurants have vegetarian and vegan choices now too.
Absolutely.
So I love, I mean, that's what I can think of off the top of my head in terms of a strictly, healthy. They build themselves as that, but there's so many places that I just love. And I think eating in a beautiful ambiance is great too. There are many restaurants that you could eat on the patio or by a lake, and, whatever's going to mean something to you, but turn that technology off when you do.
Yeah, see, now you got me thinking about Long Island. That certainly has some of the most beautiful beaches
Long
in the world, and some of those restaurants that are there, like right by the ocean on the island, are just fantastic. And so that's where I think about too, in terms of ambiance and fresh seafood and things like that. But in California, I mean, you have so many choices. It's almost endless. I mean, it's hard to think about one place. I mean, there's probably 20 places that you can think of right now that you can go to have some really good, healthy living and some healthy food, which is great. So depending on where you are in the country, I think that might affect your choices.
It does, but I think the main thing is when you eat colorful plate, healthy grains, whole grains, get rid of the white flour, the refined sugar. And I also teach people you can eat great desserts without eating white sugar. Believe it or not, you can eat fruit in its natural form and put all kinds of different spices with it, or nuts. And I have lots of those recipes. And then you could make like muffins and things with applesauce, unsweetened applesauce and fresh fruit pureed. There's lots of things you can do, and you'll be surprised. It tastes really good. You're not going to miss it. 100%.
100% agreed. So you're talking about all your recipes. I'm sure our listeners want to know more about your novels, your cookbooks. They might want to contact you for some more information. Where's the best place for them to go and get a hold of all of this great stuff?
Well, it's Maryann R. Spencer, MaryannR. Spencer, .com, or AlohaWriter.com. That's the simplest probably. And I do want to say that I incorporate all of this simply delicious living in my novels because, of course, I have to. I mean, it just comes out because it's all about family and friends and relationships and living well.
I love it. AlohaWriter.com, MaryannRSpencer.com. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Maryann. And to our listeners, if you like this talk with Maryann, make sure you like it. Make sure you share it with other students on campus that also want that healthy living and healthy eating. And what can I say, Maryann? You're the best. I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, it's such fun. Thank you so much.
Of course, it's my pleasure. And to all of our listeners, thanks so much for stopping by. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time.